empowering youth with visual impairment.
Today we have Sydney with us, and she is going to share about her experience with SSI and offer advice on this topic. Sydney, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, sure. My name is Sydney, and I have had SSI for about 8 years now.
Fantastic. What do you think is important for students who are blind or have low vision to know about SSI?
I think that it's important for students to know that when they have low vision or they're blind, if they're legally blind with the state, it doesn't automatically carry over to Social Security. So when they're applying, they should figure out whether or not they can apply as legally blind or not. And also for students with low vision to know that if they aren't legally blind, they still could be eligible for SSI. When you're first applying and you want to figure out whether you'll be able to apply as legally blind or not, when you go to the doctor through Social Security, they'll usually have you go to one doctor through them. And when you do that, you can ask them questions about what category you'll be under. So, for example, you can ask the doctor about whether you qualify because of your distance vision or because of your field of view. And there's also some other conditions, like retinal conditions, that you can qualify as. So I think it's good for young people to know that you're able to ask questions in the process, and that when you're applying and you're going through different testing to see what you qualify as, you can find out what that is. And then when you finish your assessment with the doctor, they'll be the ones to determine whether or not you are legally blind or not. And so once they do, you can ask them to tell you what that determination is. So I think that's something else that's important for young people to know.
What advice would you give a young person who is blind or has low vision who is thinking about applying for SSI when they turn 18?
I would say that something important to know is that it can be a complicated process with a lot of different parts and paperwork involved. So one piece of advice I would have is just to kind of know that it can be a lot to do, but it's good to have help when you need it. So for example, when I applied, I had my mom help me with some of the paperwork, and I also had my doctors help me provide some of the documentation I needed. So I would say when you're applying and you're young, to just not be afraid to ask for help when you need it and to work with the resources you have.
What types of supports would you recommend to young folks who are applying for SSI?
One thing I would say is if you can talk to other people who have also done it, this way you have some experience about what it was like. And sometimes you can think about ways to make the process easier. So, for example, another area is working with benefits counselors. So, they are people who know a lot about the process of SSI and benefits. And so they can help give advice about ways to apply and also just different areas that you might not be aware of when you're applying for the first time. And some sources you can find benefits counselors are your state, local rehabilitation agency sometimes has benefits counselors. So when I had SSI before, when I was working, I was able to work with a benefits counselor that gave me information on the process of different benefits I was entitled to, and they can answer questions you have about the process of applying as well. And then another resource for benefits counselors can be independent living centers. A lot of times they have counselors who you can work with free of charge, and they can give you resources. And then also something to know is that the Social Security office itself, if you ask them for a list of local benefits counselors, they are supposed to provide that to you. So that's another area you can use.
Visit us at empowervi.org.